Welcome to the Wise Owl Knits Fibercast. This is Pearl 16. I'm your host, Cheryl Beckridge, and if this is your first time here, I'd love to welcome you. And if you're back again, welcome home. Glad to have you all here. So appreciate you taking the time to watch me today. I am the designer and pattern writer behind Wise Owl Knits. I'm mainly a knitter, but I also do crochet, I do some quilting, I'm sewing some garments, and I got an old antique circular sock machine that someday I will learn how to use. I'm just going to keep saying that in hopes that eventually it happens. You can find me at wiseowlknits.com. I'm Wise Owl Knits with 2 S's on Instagram, Wise Owl Knits on Facebook and YouTube and Rumble, and probably almost everything else, but those are the ones that I use. I'd say I use Instagram the most, so if you would like to get a hold of me, you can send me a message on Instagram, or you can message me through wiseowlknits.com. There's an About Us or Contact Me or something like that section on the website, or you can send me an email at cheryl@wiseowlknits.com. So let's get started. Today I'm wearing the Dragon Crescent, which is a shawl that I designed several years ago, and it's a crescent shaped shawl that is from my craft beer collection. My husband is a brewer, and he was making all kinds of different beers, and I decided to do a collection with a lot of beer names and just references to his home brew. So this crescent shaped shawl is knit with Knit Circus yarn, and it was one single skein, a gradient, just north of 600 yards, maybe closer to 700 yards in a fingering weight, and it went from dark gray to dark pink, or the other way around depending on where you started. And I started with the you know what, I'm gonna have to go back and look and see, and I will put that on the screen. It's been long enough that I don't remember how I did it. Isn't that crazy? I'm going to take it off because it is peak humidity here, and we're not nearly as warm as it is in some parts of the country right now. I'm in Indiana, but the humidity level is pretty high. When we woke up this morning, all of our windows had condensation on them because of the air conditioning inside contrasting with the humidity outside. So we're feeling it today. We've had a really very mild summer, so can't complain compared to a lot of places, but still not super comfortable, especially with knitwear on. So wore that for a few minutes, but now we're on to just my summer dress. Do you guys wear dresses more in the summer? I feel like they're much cooler, and a lot of times when I'm even in, I probably wear them less to work than I do just in more casual situations, because work, I'm inside in the air conditioning, and the more casual things that I go to a lot of times are cookouts or things that are outside, and dresses are just really a little cooler and more comfortable. So I'm wearing dresses a lot. So we'll get on to what we're going to include in this podcast. I have 0 finished objects, and I'm mainly working on one project, though I've got a couple of different things on the needles. I've got some, well, let me go through all of these and then I'll come back to that. So got a few things that I'm working on. I am knee deep, waist deep, shoulder deep in designing right now, so I've got 2 things in testing and something else going on, so we'll talk about all of those. one of which will have some tutorials with it, so that's fun. Got some new yarn, so we'll talk about that, and briefly touch on what I'm reading, and we'll go through the comments from last time. And I think that's about it, but I'll probably think of something else along the way. So as I said, no finished items. The things that I am working on are Christmas stockings. So I've completed 2 Christmas stockings, and I showed those last time, so I didn't bring them out to show them again. Working on the 3rd Christmas stocking, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 3 more to go, including the one that I've started on. So like to get all of those done before the end of September so that I'm not just really pushing the envelope towards Christmas time, and can get those all finished up and lined and the names on everything and ready to give out to the recipients, so they'll have them in plenty of time by the time Advent starts. So late November, I'll probably get them distributed before then. The 3 stockings that I'm making for my friend Grace, I've also got a quilt that her mother had passed on to a friend before she passed away, and the friend has stored it for many years and not used it, and she wanted to give it back to the daughter. So when I give her the Christmas stockings, I will also give her the quilt, and that is at my office right now, but I will bring that in and show that because it's really beautiful, and it's old, it's an antique. I would like to get it appraised, and I've got a friend that is pretty good at that kind of thing. So I'd like to let her know what she's getting, and she may have other things like this too that her mother left her, but she was fairly young. I mean, just like 2nd or 3rd grade when her mother passed away. So even if she has things, she may not know really what she has. So, and then I've got the 3 Christmas stockings are for that family. One for the puppy Bella, not really puppy, the dog Bella, and then I have one for my nephew Kyle. So like to get all those done. I've got a baby hat on the needles, and that is also at my office because we have handicrafters at church this week, and I wanted to just have it there and ready to go when the other crafting ladies come in, and we sit and chit chat and work on our projects. Most of the projects that the handicrafters work on are donations to Birthline, which is a Catholic organization that helps moms in need. So I always like to give things to them. If I wasn't giving to them, I would donate to Let Them Live or other crisis pregnancy centers, just to help out people and make a tough situation a little bit easier for moms that need a little helping hand, or more than a little helping hand, but just do my little part in helping out in that. Now the big thing that I'm working on is a colorwork sweater that's out of DK yarn, and it's yarn from Knitty McPurley. I showed the yoke of that last week, and I don't have a name for this yet. So I'm not sure how to even refer to it. Whoops. So this sweater, I'll step back and maybe you can see the whole thing. I've just started on the sleeves. It's going to be long sleeved, and the stitch pattern will continue as on the body will be on the sleeves too. Show that a little bit closer. It's almost all 1x1 rib, and it alternates between 4 colors. So I've got 2 light colors that are Morel and Bougie, and the blue is Fathom, and the pink is Fantine. And I really am loving how it's turning out. It's way out of my wheelhouse as far as things that I normally wear, because I am pretty boring with my colors of my clothing. I don't do super bright or super loud things that often, but I'm just really drawn to color work right now, so maybe that will change over the years. If you've got any good ideas for a name for this one, I keep coming up with, I don't know, things like binary, and I don't want to name it binary. It's just kind of not a term that I'm comfortable with naming a pattern right now, or I just, don't want to give it any sexual connotation. Just want to stay away from all of that. So if you've got any good ideas, as I said, it's mostly 1x1 color work, circular yoke, increasing on the way down, and then we'll have long sleeves that has the same color pattern as the body does. So it's going to be fun. It's fun to work on. It's got all these little sections, so as you're working, you work a section and then you feel like, oh, I completed that section. So you get that sense of satisfaction, which all along the way, which is really fun. I started this sweater with a tubular cast on, and I had not done that before. I looked at all kinds of different tutorials, and the one that I settled on was a method that Stephen West had up. I really like his tutorials. They get to the point, they show you slowly, he shows you slowly enough that you can get it, and although our looks or styles of what we design are night and day apart, I love his attitude about how, knitting is flexible. You end up with too many stitches, you knit two together. Just do what you have to do and make your pattern your own. And he's just fine with people changing things on his patterns or doing things a different way, just very forgiving of that. And that's always been my attitude too. It's your knitting, it's your project, it's what you're going to have to wear and feel comfortable with, so do what you like. You don't have to do exactly how the pattern says. Patterns are patterns. They help you, and if you want to stick to the letter of the law and do everything exactly how the pattern says and that makes you feel good, then that's great. But if you want to veer off and do things your own way and maybe make a few changes, that's fine too. A pattern can be a great guideline. It doesn't have to be the law. You can make it your own. You are the boss of your knitting. It's what I always like to say. Not one right way to do anything. So as I said, I started with a tubular cast on that's up here on this edge of the ribbing at the neckline. Probably can't see that super well. And then I also did a tubular bind off on the hemline after the ribbing. So both of those are really fun to do, and the way that Stephen does it is just really very easy. Now the bind off is time consuming because you do it a lot like you do the Kitchener stitch. It's like into the first stitch as if to knit and slip it off, into the third stitch as if to purl and leave it on, into the now first stitch as if to purl and slip it off, and then you go behind and into the second stitch as if to knit. And you repeat that, so you have to remember where you're at. It's a 4-step process, so I suggest you can stop in the middle because it is it's the entire hem of the sweater, so it's a lengthy process. But if you always stop in the same place, do all 4 steps and then stop before you need to take a break or go to work or go to bed or other things that you have to do, because you do have to do some other things besides knitting, unfortunately. I know we don't like that, but that's kind of the way it is. So I will insert links in the show notes to tutorials for those 2 techniques that I will show you, and I'll also put Stephen West's links in there too, because he does a great job. Don't know why I'm trying to improve on perfection, but I always, if I do a pattern and I have something that I didn't know how to do before, I like to make a short video and include that in the pattern. So in my pattern writing, I'm going to do that anyway, so I'm glad to share those with you today. So that is the first thing that I design in process that I'm working on. I've got 2 other things that are in testing, and that's the wildflower tee or wildflower sweater, and that's a colorwork sweater out of fingering weight yarn, also using Knitting McPurley yarn, and I'll insert a picture of that. I just picked that up today from the fairgrounds because our state fair is over as of yesterday, so I got a blue ribbon on that. I'll include that in the picture. And then the Solomon poncho is also in testing, and that's a all over cable work poncho that has kind of, not a shawl collar, but a large rib collar that folds over, and a faux button band on the side. Really, it's a lengthy project to knit because it's a great big rectangle that's then sewn together with some neck shaping. But other than doing some binding off and knitting 2 together and then increasing and casting on for the neck shaping, it's just a big rectangle. So you're doing the same thing over and over again, and you quickly get the lay of the land as far as all the cables are concerned. And I think that's a pattern that you guys will really like too. I did it in Skeins Southlander DK, which is exactly the same weight as many worsted weight yarns, including Cascade 220. So you could use Cascade 220, you could use Cascade 220 Superwash. For big, heavy projects like that, I prefer not to use Superwash because you don't want it to, it's big anyway, and you don't want it to stretch even more. And Superwash, when you get it wet, so when you're blocking, it tends to stretch a lot, and you will end up with a piece that is quite a bit larger than you maybe thought you were going to have. So I suggest a non-superwash wool for this project, and something that is, it doesn't have to be smooth, because the Skeins Southlander DK is a rustic yarn, but it has very good stitch definition for cables, and this is a garment that you're not going to wear right next to your skin because it is a poncho, so you'll be wearing a shirt or something underneath it. In fact, you can even wear it as a coat, and I probably will do that a lot this coming winter. But fun pattern to do. Both of them will be ready for publication towards the end of September. I may hold on to the wildflower till closer to next spring, maybe next February or March, because it's not a winter garment. But I haven't decided for sure what I'm going to do on that yet. So those are the 3 designs in progress that are either on the needles right now or in testing. I've got, as always, lots of ideas in my head. I'd like to do another shawl and do a knit along for the shawl with my Knit Night girls and possibly online. So if any of you like knit-alongs, stay tuned for that. I think we may do some kind of a maybe monthly get-together or every other week get-together with my local people and make it kind of a party where we'll have some food and drinks and work on it. So something a little bit different than my regular knit night. The way my regular knit night works is it's every Tuesday night and it's from 5:30 to 7:30, and we usually have it out here on the deck as long as it's not too hot. So or not too hot or not too cold or pouring down rain or snowing. We do have heaters, so we stay outside way into the fall and come out early in the spring, and because everybody loves being outside, it's fun there. If we're lucky, we get to see a few owls, but we always get to see hummingbirds and just kind of be out in nature. I live in the middle of the city, not in the middle of the city, kind of on the north side of Indianapolis, and it's, you know, certainly more suburban than urban here, but we have a big lot and we've got mostly woods in the back, and especially in the summer it just feels like you're out in the middle of the countryside rather than in the middle of Indianapolis. So if you're from around here and you're interested in joining us for Knit Night, I'd love to have you. I do charge for it, and it's what I like to call social help sessions. So everybody most of the time is working on different things, though as you know, when you get a bunch of knitters together, oftentimes they start working on the same things. Just happens. But whatever they're working on, I'm here to help them, give them suggestions. It's $10 a session, but every 5th session is free. And they also can knit any of my patterns at no charge too. So that's another benefit, and most of them take advantage of that. And then there's people working on a lot of other things too. Barley. No. Barley thinks it's time to eat, and probably every podcast that I've done, he's been here jumping around, because when I get home from work, even if it is way earlier than normal, I normally get home about 3:15, but on podcast day, because I work on Sundays, I generally film my podcast on Mondays, and I get home at about 1 o'clock, and he is pretty sure it's time to eat because I walked in the door. I'm sure your dogs have that similar behavior. So he is just jumping up and down saying, "Hey, I'm hungry." I did bring him a bowl full of ice cubes out here because it's hot, and I thought he might enjoy those. And he usually does like ice cubes, but he's not too interested in them right now because they are not dog food. So Barley, oh, he ate all of his ice cubes. I didn't even hear him doing that. He was very stealthy. Okay, I do have some new yarn, and the last podcast I filmed, which was 2 weeks ago, I intended to show this new yarn, and I forgot. That happens. So, without further ado, on to my new yarn. I got 2 mini skein sets from Mystery Mouse Yarns, and this is the Brown Bear mini skein set, and look at all these colors. It's lovely. I don't know what is going to happen with this. I might do another wildflower. I might do a fingering version of this 1x1 colorwork sweater that I'm doing and do it in a bunch of colors. So stay tuned. Maybe this will be the shawl for my knit along. That might be nice too. The colors are gorgeous. So the Brown Bear mini set from the Brown Bear book series. Holly names or is inspired by different books or book series, and most of her yarns are book related, and they're all lovely. She does a fantastic job. I don't know, this camera must go off after a certain point on its own. I don't know. But anyway, what I was saying was Holly does a fantastic job with her dyeing, and she always bases her colorways on books or book series. So this is on the Brown Bear book series, and as you can see, the colors are gorgeous. So if you're a fan of bright colors, this would be a good one to get. It could be gone by now because, as I said, I got it several weeks ago, but that is lovely, and I'm looking for a good project for that. I also am a member of Sweet Mountain Crafts Sock Adventures, and so this was the sock set for July, and I got it, I guess when I signed up for her sock sets, my anniversary date must be like the 25th of the month. So I get my sock sets from her later in the month just because I am assuming because of when I subscribed. This one is called the Backpack Trip Set. So that is right in my wheelhouse too. I love to backpack, love to hike, and along with this sock set, which is fingering weight and is gorgeous, she also sent this enamel pin with a backpacker that has yarn sticking out and needles sticking out. So that's kind of fun. Also some trail mix, and there was some tea, which is already gone. She always includes a postcard that says thank you and tells a little bit about the set on the back, and always sends a nice little story along with it too. And this one was about a backpack trip that some girls that she knew took. So that really is very fun. Sorry, I looked away. I heard noises over at my neighbor's house. Okay. I did briefly mention my state fair results when I was talking about my designs in progress. So I entered 6 things in the state fair and got blue ribbons on 2 and an honorable mention on 1. So I will insert all those pictures now. I got all my stuff back, though I had pictures anyway. I'm gonna insert pictures with the ribbons. Ooh. So I was talking with my coworkers before I left work today, and I said, cost me $33 to enter the fair, and for that $33 I got 6 tickets to the fair and only used 4 of them, so 2 of them went to waste. I feel bad about that. And then because I got 2 blue ribbons, you win $10 for each blue ribbon. So I won $20. So I just spent $13. I think that's a pretty good deal. $13, 4 people got to go to the fair and got to spread the knitting world to hopefully some muggles that may say, hey, I think I want to knit. That's my goal anyway. So enter your items in the fair. I don't know how they do the judging, and I haven't read my critiques on my things yet this year that I just got back, but they're always pretty instructive and, you know, just good creative criticism. So that's my state fair things. Now we'll move on to the comments from the last Fibercast. Had a lot of people that talked about the fair. And from Creekview Farms, I got, hello, congratulations on your blue ribbons. It's always a lot of preparation and anticipation before the judging, which adds to the excitement of a win. It does. You know, and I go into it with the attitude that, you know, I'll do my best, but it's their opinions, and hopefully they like what I do. But if they don't, there's not much I can do about it. And if it's something that in my execution, then they'll tell me about that, and hopefully that will make me be a little bit better the next time. She also said, the color work top is beautiful. I also love your new vehicle and think the blue is an awesome color. I think so too. I'm the proud owner of a new to me Ford Bronco, and it's blue, and it's got some red pinstriping and red highlights on the wheels, and we took the tops off yesterday and drove around and went to an outdoor restaurant, so it's a fun vehicle. It's up a little bit high, but that's okay. Keep me in shape. She says, I'm sure you will be able to get in and out of this vehicle over the years because of your positive thinking and awareness of how important exercise is for the body. Great video, and I hope to see more. She also wrote back after that with another comment, again, Creekview Farms, and she asked about the yarn that I showed last week that was from Revolution Yarn, and it was mostly a blue yarn that was DK weight, and then there was a cream colored speckled yarn. And she asked how I heard about them, and I will link below. I heard Melanie on the Politically Incorrect Knitters podcast. She was on several weeks ago. She's a Canadian, and her story is super fascinating and a bit scary, and I will link to that below, but I highly recommend watching it and listening to it, and just taking what she says to heart, because we need to make sure we keep our freedom and don't take it for granted, because she thought she was pretty free, and then turns out she really wasn't. So I really love to support her after hearing her story, but even without her story, her yarn is gorgeous, and I'm happy to support her business. So that's Melanie from Revolution Yarns, and that will be linked in the show notes below, and also on my blog and my website. I've got the show notes there too. Selfish Knitter, who's also known as the serial commenter, she says, congratulations on your blue ribbons, and thank you for sharing how you decide what to enter and what the judges look at. Maybe if I think of all my projects as potential fair entries, I'll be more motivated to neatly and promptly sew in all my ends. Good luck with that, Colleen. Oh, isn't that always a thing? You think, well, I'm almost done. In fact, I showed my Christmas stockings that I count as done, but not all the ends are sewn in, and I haven't put the name on it yet. So it's those little finishing details that sometimes really get to us. Susan Smith of Delightful Works Bags on Etsy says, congratulations on your state fair wins. We used to enter a lot in our state fair when the boys were younger. This is fun. They entered baked goods, art. One year, my third son, who was 12 at the time, won the best in show for his pecan pie. A few weeks later, People magazine called her and asked if they could interview him for an article that they were doing on regional pies. They wanted to feature a best in show winner from fairs in the 4 quadrants of the country. We're in Georgia, and pecan pie fit in their feature requirements, and for the southern quadrant. They were thrilled that a 12-year-old boy had won. So my son was in the People magazine article with 3 elderly women, all who baked delicious pies. I remember that when we got the call for the interview, I had to call him in from playing in the creek. He was rather frustrated with me until he heard why he had been summoned. We were all pretty excited about it, and I still have a few copies of that magazine. So glad you enjoyed your camping trip. We have an older camper with a bunk room in the back and a queen bed up front. It's perfect for us for regular camping, but my husband is talking about taking a month-long trip out west when he retires. So he's thinking about renting a motorhome for that. I'm looking forward to that trip. I answered Susan because I have a really similar story, and it's not of my son, but it's one of my son's friends who entered the spam. He entered a lot of cooking competitions, and he got some best in shows for different pies. He did a blackberry pie that he did really well with, and he always did chocolate chip cookies, and he always won a lot of ribbons. He's, good, smart kid, and was just a good cook. But the one year he decided he would enter the spam cook-off. And so he made up a recipe and prepared his dish and took it into the fair and won first place. And if you win in one of the categories that is sponsored by a manufacturer like Spam or Pillsbury or something like that, then you move on to a larger competition against winners from the other states. So Joe made his Spam and he won, and he got to move on. And I'm not sure how he did moving on. I don't think he won the next level up. But after he won here, he got invited to be on a local TV show that was after the morning news. And it was just a human interest show, and they talked about different things going on in Indianapolis, and he had to, school was already started, so he had to miss school that morning and go in and do his interview. And they were asking him about his dish, and they asked him how long he'd been eating Spam. And the competition was on a Saturday morning. He made the dish on Friday night. That was the first time he had ever eaten Spam. So when they asked him how long he's been eating Spam, he goes, well, since Friday night. I love that story. I think it's so cute. But, he's a good cook, and he knew how to put things together, tasted it, and decided what all should go in there, and ta-da, he won. So that's always been a fun story that I love to share. Okay. Oh, Kara Overman is from Indiana too. She says that one of my sons was the blacksmith that did the demos at the Indiana State Fair. I haven't done the state fair, but county fairs and local quilt shows. The blacksmith, there's a blacksmith cabin at the state fair, and they're there making little hooks and just different things, but they're sticking their iron in the fire, and they've got their bellows going, and they've lots of heat and hammers. And my boys, who are big fire hounds anyway, love to build a big fire, love to play with fire. They always wanted to go and watch the blacksmiths and talk to the blacksmiths, so maybe they talked to Kara's son. Okay, Pandemic Knitter says, another great episode, Cheryl. That shawl is gorgeous. And Susan's progress on the test knit looks great. Congratulations on your blue ribbons. I knew you could do it. I'm heading down to the Illinois State Fair next weekend. I'll be oogling all the pretty stuff that everyone else has entered. So, a few other just short comments saying congratulations on the state fair. So those are the comments from last week. I'd love to hear your comments all the time, so please feel free to enter those or just make a comment. Especially tell me what you think as far as Barley. No, Barley, sit down. Okay, Barley's laying down for a little while. Especially if you have any ideas on names for the sweater. Love to hear those. And I think that may be about all I have, except for reading. And I did start a new book, and I'm going to pull it up. And it is a book that I heard of on the Loop podcast, which is kind of political and kind of Catholic podcast. I mean, it's definitely Catholic and it's definitely political, but they have a lot of great interviews and opinions that can sometimes run on both sides of issues that I may not have thought of. So I haven't been listening to that podcast for a long time, but I've definitely been enjoying it lately. Here I have to go to my Audible. Oh, Barley just hit the tripod, so that's why it moved. This book is called One Stupid Mistake, and it is the gist of the book, and I am only about halfway through, is how all the little things that you do in your life add up to larger things, and kind of along the idea of if you watch your pennies, your dollars will take care of themselves. So taking care and doing the right thing when you're making small decisions in your life, like, he uses the making your bed example. Start off your day right, make your bed, clean up your messes right away. Don't just leave things in a pile, talking to myself, and say, hey, I'll get to these later. It's going ahead and making all the right small decisions that will, in the end, keep you on the right track and not only keep you, I guess, productive, but just that will add up to making the right decisions in bigger things. And it, little things like when you were a child, if you went into a store and you were tempted to swipe a piece of candy, well, you make the right decision there and you don't swipe it, and then that keeps you in that mindset of, I do not steal things from other people. And you exhibit that behavior over and over again, and you're not likely to embezzle from your boss when you're older. That's a big example, but a lot of the things that we do that are wrong, a lot of our sins, are things, start off as small things that we might do and think, oh, it's not that big of a deal. And then the more you do things like that, the easier it is for you to do the bigger things. So anyway, that book, I would suggest, I'm listening to the audio book, and it's a little bit different than I expected it to be, because it's really in the form of a self-help book, and there are exercises that you can do along the way that probably are very good, but I haven't done those. It's by Charlie Seraphin, Seraphin. Smart Decision Making in a Crazy World. One Stupid Mistake is the name of the book. So that's what I'm reading right now. I'm enjoying it, and like I said, I'm really more than halfway through. It's only a 4-hour audio book, and I have 1 hour and 59 minutes left to go. So, one stupid mistake. Try not to make them. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me today. I really appreciate you being here. Please like, comment, share, tell your friends about my little Fibercast. I love to talk to knitters. I love to interact with other knitters through the comments or through Instagram, or through my website, wiseowlknits.com. I've got lots of patterns over there, some of which are free. In exchange for getting free patterns, I do ask that you sign up for the website, which is basically being on my email list. And I don't email a lot, but I do every once in a while, especially if I have a new pattern that's out. Got some fun things on the website. In addition to my patterns, I've got some little drawstring bags that I made out of owl material, and I've also got some stitch tubes, which are these little silicone tubes that you can use as stitch holders when you split for the sleeves, or lots of other applications in knitting when you need to hold some stitches. So stitch tubes are there, and if you haven't tried those, they're really, I mean, what a simple idea and what a great product. So hop on over there, grab some stitch tubes, pick out a new pattern. You can find me at on Instagram, WiseOwlKnits, 2 S's. Everywhere else, WiseOwlKnits, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble. Like, share, and subscribe, and I hope to see you back soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.